Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and today I am back with another chapter of OCDaniel, and let's start reading. Okay, chapter 2. I was so stunned, I didn't even have a chance to reply. Sarah just continued shuffling down the hallway, and I turned to watch her go. Max and Taj slowed down beside me. Max looked at me in disbelief. "Did Psycho Sarah just talk to you?" he murmured. I watched her black ponytail bob away. "I think so. 8 years, and she just said hello like we were old friends." "That's weird." Taj started down the hall. "Maybe she wants you to ask her to the dance." Max broke out laughing and gave me a little push to the front door. "Let's go. You could ask her out tomorrow if you want." I just laughed awkwardly and followed him out. But my skin was still prickling everywhere like it was on fire. It was weird enough that she had talked to me. I hadn't thought she could even speak. But what was worse was the strange feeling I'd gotten when she looked at me. It was like she was the only person who had actually seen me. But that was impossible. It didn't make any sense. Max and I stepped out into the cool fall air, and I tried to forget about Sarah and Melvin. As I mentioned, I'm writing a book, and I've been writing it for about a year now, and once I got to the 20th page before deleting it all. It's supposed to be a masterpiece, but it doesn't feel like one. I like writing. It's just about the only time I don't get zaps. I don't know if it's because my brain is too busy or because I get to create my own world without crazy people. Sometimes it's the only break I get in a day, and I think maybe it stops me from completely losing my mind. Basically, the book is about a kid named Daniel who wiped out the entire human race by accident and has to find a way to bring them back before the process becomes irreversible. His day starts like this. When Daniel woke up, the velvety morning light was shining through his navy blue curtains like on any other morning. But there was heavy stillness in the air that unsettled him, a silence that was deeper and more ominous than usual. He quickly pulled on and wore some jeans and a hoodie and hurried into the hallway, looking around curiously. "Hello?" he called, his voice carrying through the house like a frantic bat. Daniel raced downstairs, but the kitchen was empty. It was 8:30 a.m. His family should have all been there. His mother, his brother, and his sister. He tried the TV, the radio. There was nothing but static. Desperate, Daniel rushed into the streets, fear clawing its way through his belly. The streets were quiet. The houses were watchful. There were no cars or pedestrians or noise of any kind carrying the October breeze. He slowly walked into the middle of the street. The horrible, guilt-stricken realization flooded him. He had done this. He had killed them all. Out of the corner of his eye, he got a glimpse of the moon, still reluctant to pass into the earth. He froze his eyes and looked at the luminescent orb. His legs buckled and wavered. The moon had changed since the last night. It didn't seem possible, but there it was. A part of it was missing. I thought I would start with an action and jump backwards, but I got indecisive, so I made a new plan to just write the book and not get a single change until I have written the end. It's the only way I will ever finish. I don't even know what I'm writing it for, since I've never shown my work to anyone and never plan to. Like I said, writing is something I do for myself, and I didn't have too much time to dwell on Sarah Melvin. After school, Max and I played 3 hours of Call of Duty, brown couches, and ate 2 bagged potatoes perched on the huge brown couches in my family room. My mom yelled at me for getting chips into the cushions twice. It was a typical Tuesday. I only had one zap, this time in the bathroom with the light switch. I have a hard time with light switches. I don't know why. Max decided to stay for dinner even after having 2 bags of potato chips. Because my mom was making chicken wings, and she loves Max, and she always insists he stays. Max's dad left a few years ago, and his mom works really long hours, so he doesn't get a real dinner much. He's always happy to stick around. Max is one of those kids who's naturally comfortable around parents. He has a gift for polite conversation. My brother and sister were there for dinner as well, but my dad didn't get home from work until late, so he just ate leftovers, wrapped in tinfoil, and watched sports highlights. "How's your day?" my mom asked Max, shoveling some salad onto my sister's plate. We were gathered around an oak table. It had 6 seats because Max was at our house so much. The wood was marked with 1,000 scratches and stains and nicks, but we had gotten it from my grandma, and my mom liked it. She used really big placements and scented pieces to hide all the damage. Max put down his wink. "Pretty good." They announced that the school dance again. "Lame," Steve said. He thought everything was lame. Steve was 16 and was way too cool for everyone, especially me. He played football and had a cheerleader girlfriend, and he wore baseball caps pretty much 24/7. We didn't look much alike. I was skinny with blue eyes, freckled, and hair that switched from blonde to brown through the seasons. Steve was muscular and athletic, and his short dark hair matched his unfriendly eyes. We didn't talk much. I would have liked to, but he wasn't interested. "That's not lame," my mother said, turning to me. "Are you going?" I shrugged. "Maybe." "You should," she said. "Max, make sure he does." "Will do, Miss Lee." Max winked at me. He might even ask someone to the date. I scowled, and my mom's eyes opened with delight. "Really?" my mom asked. "Who is she?" "No one," I muttered. I felt my cheeks burning. My little sister Emma giggled. She was the opposite of Steve in just about every way. Emma was 9 years old, super shy, and the happiest when she was in her room reading. We were very close. She used to get me to sit by her bed and read to her every single night, and we still read together most nights. Steve snorted and wolfed down some chicken wings. "Space Cadet isn't going to get a date." My older brother called me Space Cadet. An uber nerd. Dink, Sally, lame, wad. Pretty much everything but Daniel, actually. "That's not nice," my mom snarled. "Daniel is a catch." I sighed. "Thanks, Mom." "He's after a pretty popular girl," Max said. I suggested someone else. My mom looked concerned. "How popular?" "Does it matter?" I asked, offended. She hesitated. "It's just that popular girls can be so mean. I don't want you to get hurt." Max laughed and sat back, rubbing his stomach tenderly. "He'll be fine. Thanks again, Miss Lee. That was delicious. I should probably get going, though. I ate enough for the rest of the week." "You want a ride?" she asked, already pushing a chair back. "Nah," he said. "Better walk this off. We got a game on Saturday and I want to be ready." I saw Max out when he gave me a lopsided grin when he swung the front door open. He used that grin a lot when he knew people were mad at him. It usually worked, but I was still a bit sour. "See you tomorrow, Space Cadet," he said with a casual salute. That was unnecessary. He clapped me on the arm with a strong right hand and then started down the porch. "I know." He stopped and looked back, shooting me another lopsided grin. "By the way, I think you're a catch too." "Shut up." Max burst out laughing and hurried down the streets, tucking his hands into his jeans pockets. I scowled and shut the door, knowing my mom would definitely ask about Raya as soon as she got the chance. Heading upstairs to avoid any questions, I heard her fighting with Steve in the kitchen. "I'm 16, Steve shouted, banging his fist on the wall. "You break that wall, you pay for it." My mom shrieked back at him. "And you're right, you're 16. It is a school night, and you will be home by 10. That's not fair." They fought about pretty much every night. Emma was already closing her bedroom. I went to my room. I opened my laptop and checked my Facebook page. No updates. Unable to resist, I opened Raya's page. She was smiling in her profile picture instead of having one of those duck-faced selfies like all the other popular girls had. I could never ask her out. She would say no. And then I would have my dreams anymore. I leaned back and looked around my room. It was a work in progress. One wall was covered with bookshelves and action figures, while the other had posters of bands and movies, and even one of Tom Brady that my dad had bought me when I made the football team. My desk was tucked under a dusty window that overlooked the street, and it was constantly littered with papers and drawings and books. I went to click on my home page when I was zapped. I went back and clicked it again, but it still didn't feel right. I was at 10 clicks already and was feeling the sweatband on my forehead when I closed the browser. I could feel the urge to go back and try another click, but I knew I might start something that would take hours. I needed right now. Daniel stared at the moon in disbelief. It was like something had bitten right off the section, taking a chunk out like a vanilla cookie. The moon stared back at him, glimmering faintly in the daylight. A million thoughts ran through his head, but only one mattered. The device had worked. It had seemed so unlikely, tucked away in the attic and wrapped in a blanket of dust, but there was no other explanation. He had turned it on and had done something terrible. As he stared at horror in the sky, something else caught an eye. A flicker of movement. Daniel turned just in time to see something slip between two houses. Something big. There was a gentle knock on my door, and even a softer voice. "Dan, come in." Emma stepped inside, clutching a book on her arm and watching me from beneath a loose stand of blonde hair. "What are you doing?" she asked curiously, spying on my laptop. "Nothing," I said, shutting it before she could read anything. Even the little writing I had done had calmed me a bit. It didn't feel right. It didn't feel like I had to go click the link again anyways. "What's up?" She sat on the bed and shrugged. "You want to read for a while?" "Sure." We both lay down on the floor, staring at the stucco ceiling. We did that a lot. "What do you see?" she asked softly. Sometimes we created entire stories in the stucco. Her hair was splashed out like a sand on the carpet. I focus on one spot in particular, a bird. An eagle, maybe. Eroth, the king of eagles, flying over the plains a log. He's preparing for battle, I think. Goblins marching on the kingdom. You? A face. A pretty girl. Pretty but cold eyes. A princess, maybe. No, an archer. San-Ah, the daughter of a fallen king, and the most famous archer in Aradon. She can hit a bullseye from 100 yards. Emma looked over and smiled mischievously, her hazel eyes twinkling. "Are you really going to ask a girl on the date?" "Probably not." She turned back to the ceiling. "You seem different at dinner." "How so?" Emma seemed to think about that. "I don't know, just distant, even more than usual." That instantly brought Sarah Malvern back to my mind. A tingle crept down my back and into my socks. "Just tired, I guess," I replied, hoping she didn't hear anything in the worry in my voice. Emma opened a book and started reading. "I don't believe you." "You never do." We read until Mom came in and told Emma to go to bed. We both stood up, stretching sore limbs. Emma said goodnight and shuffled through my bedroom door. I watched her shadow turn the corner, fading into the hallway light. I was alone again. I decided to write a bit more. As I opened my laptop, I noticed a piece of paper sticking out of one of the pockets of my backpack. Frowning, I picked it up. Scribbled splotchily in ink was a note. "I need your help, fellow star child." Now, ladies and gentlemen, that is going to wrap up chapter 2, and I will see you in the next evening. Have a lovely night.